Russia's annexation of those 4 regions of Ukraine didn't come as a surprise. The US and others have been warning for days now, arguing that those referendums taking place in those areas were a sham and that they were nothing more than a step towards what has now ultimately happened. So the US was ready to go with a new package of sanctions. The State Department has announced new visa restrictions against more than 900 Russian government and military officials, while Treasury is targeting Russian political figures and their families. The US President Joe Biden says that the US and its allies will not be intimidated by Vladimir Putin's actions. He is promising further support for Ukraine's military, and both he and his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, have said today that under no circumstances will those regions be recognised by the US as parts of Russia.
The United States does not and will never recognize any of the Kremlin's claims to sovereignty over parts of Ukraine that it seized by force. This territory remains Ukraine's. It will always be a part of Ukraine. We will never recognize the purported annexation of this territory. And as I said, Ukraine has every right to defend all of its territory, to defend the people who are there, and to take back territory that was illegally seized from it.
Now, Jade, the UN Security Council has also discussed this particular issue today. Has there been any agreement or consensus that's come out of the meeting?
No, the United States and Albania introduced a draft resolution to the UN Security Council condemning Russia's actions, but unsurprisingly, as it has done so in the past, Russia, as a permanent member of that council, used its veto power, and so that draft resolution failed. Russia's representative to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, hit out at that resolution. He said that it was a low-grade provocation and that the Security Council had reached a new low. Russia was the only member to vote against it, but it's worth noting which countries abstained. There were 4 of them: China, India, Gabon and Brazil. China has, in particular in recent weeks, really over the course of this war, but in the past week, faced repeated calls from Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong when she was in New York attending the UN General Assembly last week. She repeatedly called on China to use whatever influence it has with Russia through the so-called No Limits partnership between those two countries to try to bring the war to an end. But we've seen today China abstaining from that vote. The United States says that it will now look to a draft resolution in the United Nations General Assembly where all nations get a vote, although resolutions there are non-binding.